US is urging the Ukrainian government to remove riot police from the streets, and earlier some EU members voiced their support for an idea of sanctions against Kiev. But as RT's Paula Slier finds out, Ukrainian authorities are not the only ones meeting the riots head-on.
There's unease in eastern Ukraine. Many fear the violence from Kiev will be repeated here. Police are not taking any chances. With batons and shields, they're barricading government buildings. In the mining town of Donetsk, volunteers are arriving from around the region to help them. The buses have been arriving since early this morning. They've formed a block around this administration building. The message is clear: no one can enter. Dennis was one of the first to get here. The 23-year-old coal miner from the town of Golovka, an hour away, feels the police should be tougher, especially when they're being attacked with Molotov cocktails and stun grenades. But he believes their hands are tied.
The police are going easy on the protesters because they don't want an international scandal. In other countries, they don't care about this.
Ironically, the international community disagrees. It's coming down hard on Kiev for being too strict with protesters. It's a feeling that's not echoed here.
I am a patriot, and I do not want anybody to interfere in the affairs of this country. I want Ukraine to make its own decisions and solve its own problems.
As it stands, a protester in Europe guilty of a riot gets 10 years in prison. In Ukraine, it's a fifth of that. For vandalism, in France, you get 7 years. In Ukraine, 3. Covering yourself with a mask in a protest, in Canada, it's 10 years. In Ukraine, 15 days. And so many charge the European Union is guilty of double standards when pointing a finger at Kiev.
When we see the levels of force being used against the police, then obviously the level of force reasonable and necessary by them in response, had that been in the UK context, would be very high as well.
As night falls, Dennis and his colleagues dig in for the long haul. They're staying put, ready to protect their country, whether Europe approves or not. Paula Slier, RT, Donetsk, eastern Ukraine.